It's been nearly a year since a fire left the future of the Olivia building in downtown Joplin in question. I'm Chris Warner. We're going to introduce you to the groups coming together to restore this historic icon and tell you about the progress they've made so far.
Local health officials are having to field more and more calls from people who are confused about booster doses of COVID vaccine. I'm Zach Dodge with who's actually eligible right now, coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Aubie. The defense for a Joplin murder suspect tries to make its case for a lesser charge as the trial enters its second day. Stephen Thompson is accused of shooting his estranged wife and another woman back in 2015. Carissa Gerard passed away from her injuries. Thompson's estranged wife, Christina Thompson, survived but was critically injured. Thompson is charged with first-degree murder, first-degree domestic assault, and 2 counts of armed criminal action. His attorneys, though, are trying to get a lesser charge of second-degree murder. You can follow along with the latest from the trial in this story on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Jasper County Animal Control and the Oronogo Police Department today helped take 18 dogs to the Joplin Humane Society. The dogs were voluntarily released by their owner after 6 people, including a law enforcement officer, had been bitten by the dogs. The dogs are going to be examined by the shelter and put up for adoption. Meteorologist Nick Kelly joining us now. Tonight's a good night to wear a sweatshirt. Nick Kelly?
Yeah, better than all the rain gear that we had to hide with all the rain and thunderstorm chances last night, Jordan. We had a much quieter picture from 7th and Rangeline and quite a drop in temperatures. 58 this morning and topping out at 74 after the rain and storms cleared out. I don't see anything on the radar network right now. Earlier there was one shower or two trying to pass around Yates Center, but that did fall apart. So we're dry for the rest of the night. But as far as temperatures go, I have us dropping back to 49 degrees, a cool start for Wednesday, but appropriate since we kick off fall tomorrow. And looking good for tomorrow afternoon, Jordan. Highs near 71. We'll see if this sticks around for the rest of the week here in a bit.
All right, Nick Kelly, thank you so much. Nearly 1 year ago, a fire broke out on the 5th floor of the historic Olivia building in downtown Joplin. Work got underway a few months later to restore the building. And tonight, KOAM's Chris Warner is taking us on a tour of the building and the progress made so far.
The lobby of the Olivia building has seen better days, but its future is now a lot brighter thanks to a group of companies coming together to restore the building. The goal, to turn it into market-rate apartments ranging from 1 to 3 bedrooms. Sawyer Smith is the Director of Business Development for Blue Haven Homes, and for their company, this project is different.
Our business primarily deals with the restoration of old single-family homes. And so this was a big challenge and interesting project to try and take on something larger and more impactful than a single family home.
Part of the impact he's hoping for, improved downtown development.
We hope that it'll bring more businesses to downtown, not just apartment complexes, but shops, restaurants, stores.
Jeff Neal and his wife Carolina are the co-owners of Neal Group Construction, the general contractor on this project.
We're keeping a constant flow of a dumpster of material out of the building every day, probably. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's a little less.
And at the beginning of the project, they had more significant issues to overcome.
The biggest initial challenge, of course, was the moisture that was still ongoing when we first got in here, and it was damaging the entire structure. So the big challenge was getting the roof on, and then removing the waterlogged materials, and at the same time ventilating the building to stop the growth of mold and other hazards.
It's a lot of work. 5 floors of walls and ceiling to be gutted out and hauled away. But there's something that keeps the team going.
It's a motivator to know that you're putting something back together that's an important part of people's lives. There's a huge number of people who lived here through their college years or whose parents brought them home to this building as babies, and for 120 years this has been an important part of Joplin's history.
Rob Newsom is the project manager for the Olivia. There's a number of gaps, missing, and damaged items that will need to be taken care of as well.
There's multiple pieces that will need to be replicated along the way, from the staircase to the exterior balconies to the trim work and some of the doors inside the building as well. So in each aspect of the building, there's pieces that will need to be replicated or repaired.
We stopped by the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd floors to get a glimpse as to how things are coming along.
This would be the living space with a nice window out there. And then your kitchen would be up against that far wall there.
And while they've made quite a bit of progress, there's still a long road ahead. From the historic Olivia building in Joplin, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Smith says at this point they don't have anything set in stone for an opening date, but are hopeful to be ready for tenants to move in by next fall. A federal appeals court is considering whether Missouri can implement a sweeping law aimed at limiting abortions. The law adopted back in 2019 would ban abortions at or around the 8th week of pregnancy. It would also prohibit abortions based on a Down syndrome diagnosis. Back in June, a 3-judge panel upheld an injunction from a U.S. district judge prohibiting Missouri from enforcing the provisions. But the full 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in St. Louis has decided to hear the case. The Missouri Attorney General's office is defending the law. A ruling is not expected for weeks. Johnson & Johnson could be the next drug maker to offer booster shots here in the U.S. Fox News correspondent Steve Harrigan has more now from Atlanta.
The number is growing as we stand here.
It's another ominous new record. More than 675,000 Americans have died from COVID-19, passing the number of deaths during the flu pandemic of 1918. But it could soon be easier to protect yourself against serious infections. Johnson & Johnson announcing positive results from their large-scale booster trials, reporting the vaccine's effectiveness went from 70% to 94% following a second shot given 2 months after the first. And the company says the antibodies increased even more for those who waited longer for their booster.
When they gave it at 6 months, you got even stronger immunity. And that shows what many of us have been saying for a long time, and that is the narrow 3 to 4 week interval is too short.
It is still not clear when the FDA will give the green light for the new booster, but the White House is already making plans to ease some COVID restrictions, including international travel. Announcing Monday, foreigners visiting the U.S. will no longer have to quarantine when they arrive, but they will have to be fully vaccinated and show a negative COVID test. Health officials say the decision was based on increasing vaccination rates in Europe and other former COVID hotspots.
Assuming the Delta variant eases, as it is in Europe right now, the last couple of weeks have been really good news that we could see a pretty strong Thanksgiving travel season.
The CDC says airlines will have to collect contact information from international travelers. In Atlanta, Steve Harrigan, Fox News.
Well, on Friday, an FDA advisory committee did not recommend booster doses of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine for the general population. This comes after the president said booster doses would be available starting yesterday. Now some 4-staters say they're just confused about what all is happening. KOAM's Zach Dodge has a breakdown.
It's the latest change in the pandemic to cause confusion among the public.
I think they're very confused.
A little bit of a mixed signal. People were a little bit confused on, which one it was, whether I could get the shot or not.
On Friday, an FDA advisory committee voted against recommending booster doses of Pfizer's COVID vaccine for the general public. A change from when the president in August said boosters would be widely available in September. So who can go out and get an additional dose of vaccine right now?
So right now...
But wait, hold that thought. Before we go over all of that, let's go over some important terminology. Whenever health officials say third dose, that is for people who are immunocompromised. Whenever they talk about booster doses, that's for everyone else in the general population. Now that that's out of the way,
they approved boosters for people that are over the age of 65, and then those that are considered high risk for having COVID-19 complications.
But those people can't get an additional shot yet either.
I really do think that what's going to end up happening is once the CDC advisory committee meets, they meet the 22nd and the 23rd, so Wednesday and Thursday of this week, that they'll really define the criteria for those that are considered high risk.
So as of today, Liberty says the only people who can walk into a provider and get an additional shot are people who are immunocompromised and eligible for a third dose.
Local health departments, our local hospitals and doctors locally, that's who I would turn to, and when they're starting to get the message out, or you can come, for your booster, that's when you really need to say, okay, it's time to do it.
In Joplin and Lamar, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Dermont adds that he's heard from people asking about a second shot of Johnson & Johnson's vaccine as well. So far, though, no authorization has been given to administer second shots of that vaccine. KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time now to honor another four-state hero. Baron Myers served in the U.S. Air Force, native of Carthage, Missouri. Myers spent time in Iraq. We are proud to thank and salute Staff Sergeant Baron Myers. He's tonight's four-state hero. Nick Kelly's next with a complete look at the forecast, and a bit later, the Riverton volleyball team aiming to push its winning streak to 13 games. Going to have highlights and hear from the team in sports.
We had to deal with quite a bit of crazy rain and thunderstorm action last night into this morning. You can see the tail end of that to start our time lapse from Indigo Sky outside of Seneca, Missouri. But thankfully, this was rain that did not last all day long. As advertised, once we got past the morning, skies brightened up, and we eventually saw mostly sunny skies right before we saw a nice looking sunset earlier this evening. As far as what swept on through, you can think a vigorous cold front for the cooler air of today and all these thunderstorms that trekked on through the region. And if you've been clamoring for rainfall, we certainly picked up on quite a bit. Area-wide averages of 0.7 of an inch, but once you go west of, let's say Kansas 7, that's where the raindrops sharply drop off, and you can see how the brunt of the rain was from Pittsburgh all the way down toward the Joplin area. Thankfully, we didn't have to deal with anything this evening, with absolutely nothing on the radar network right now, just making doubly sure that we keep things quiet for the rest of the night. And again, the same cold front that brought in the rain and storms brought quite a difference in temperatures. We hit the 93 yesterday, upper 50s this morning. And you can see how we dropped 20 degrees for the high compared to yesterday. Still looking good from 7th and Rangeline, but 58 degrees already. Stew Point is sitting at 51, but I think that drops off a little more, and that means that should allow temperatures to drop back into the upper 40s, if you can believe that, for tomorrow morning. Upper 50s to lower 60s right now, and these are numbers that are running 15 to 25 degrees cooler than this time last night. And we're seeing these numbers really drop off now that our north breeze that was sustained at 10 to 20 during the day, it's dropped off quite a bit. So it's this calm breeze and clear skies here and across the entire region for that matter, that's going to allow for a cool start to our Wednesday now that we're finally behind our cold front. High pressure's in control in addition to the upstairs setup showing the jet stream to our south. So definite indications that I don't think we're done dropping temperatures just yet. With clear skies locked in and a north breeze in place, you can see how it could definitely be jacket weather to start the morning out. 49 degrees to start your Wednesday morning out. A light north breeze, even though it picks up a little bit during the afternoon, I don't think it'll stop us from hitting 67 at noon and seeing highs top out right around 71 degrees. So the first day of fall tomorrow, those numbers are looking pretty good. And so will the skies. Let's look down the road. Here is how Thursday's shaping up. We're still on the cooler side of the jet. Let's say mid 70s for Thursday. We'll still hold on to mostly sunny skies. Maybe some cloud cover at times, but not indicating any big systems for the weekend. But as long as we hop back on the warmer side of the jet before this low tries to bring in any possible rain chances, maybe as early as Tuesday, that will mean we have to send temperatures back in the lower 90s Sunday and early next week. But Jordan, we'll worry about that down the road. But let's just enjoy tomorrow. Sunny skies, 71, fall kicking off at 221. And temperature's still looking pretty good going into the start of the weekend.
I'm kind of ready for jacket weather, for the time being anyway, because it's going to go back up to the 90s.
I know, but at least fall's here, and hopefully we see less of that down the road.
True, very true. All right, let's see a little bit. Hey, Kelly, thank you. Coming up, political friendships and disagreements.
President Biden focused on partnership in his speech before the United Nations General Assembly, but the French say their partnership with the U.S. is in a rocky place. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington. I'll have more on the president's remarks coming up.
Tonight voted to fund the government into early December, suspend the federal debt limit, and provide disaster and refugee aid. The vote sets up a high-stakes showdown, though, with Republicans in the Senate who oppose the package despite the prospects of a looming fiscal crisis. The federal government faces a shutdown if funding stops on September 30th, again September 30th, the end of the fiscal year. It's going to cost a little more to send things with FedEx. The company announced its shipping rates are going up in January. These hikes apply to all U.S. domestic and U.S. export and import services. Home delivery is expected to go up nearly 6%, while freight customers may see an increase of almost 8%. In a statement, FedEx officials say these price bumps, quote, reflect incremental costs associated with the challenging operating environment. FedEx customers might also start paying more this year. In November, some FedEx shipments will have a fuel surcharge. Well, President Biden's speech to the United Nations called for partnerships to tackle global challenges, but it comes at an awkward time when tensions are flaring up among old allies and longtime foes. Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard is in D.C. to lay out what the president is facing.
Partners, partnerships, partnership.
The theme word for President Biden's speech before the United Nations General Assembly. But while speaking of partnership, one of America's closest allies is questioning how good the president's word really is.
Because we are allies, because we are partners, we cannot pretend that there's no problem. I will not say it has broken ties. I say it creates a difficult situation.
The French European Affairs Minister says there has been a loss of trust after a submarine deal between the Biden administration, Australia, and United Kingdom, which cut the French out.
The United States and Australia have always shared a partnership that is about a world order that favours freedom. And that's why we've always stood together.
President Biden also called for peace and cooperation in his speech when it comes to the pandemic and climate change, as there are global concerns over the relationship between the U.S. and China.
It will be impossible to address dramatic economic and development challenges while the world's two largest economies are at odds with each other.
The president said the U.S. is not seeking a new Cold War.
The United States is ready to work with any nation that steps up and pursues peaceful resolution to shared challenges, even if we have intense disagreements in other areas.
The White House says they are working with the French to arrange a call between President Biden and President Emmanuel Macron. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Next, yet another shortage being blamed on the effects of this pandemic. Going to hear more about this major headache for florists. Labor and distribution issues are creating a nationwide flower shortage. The lack of supply and variety is already impacting some businesses. Fox's Lauren Martinez shows us how Las Vegas, known as the wedding capital of the world, is dealing with this issue.
The owner at English Garden Florist in Las Vegas says they're adapting on a daily basis to deal with an ongoing flower shortage.
The farms cannot get employees. They're having a hard time getting employees. I hate to say it, but nobody wants to work anymore.
Helyu says there's more than labor and distribution issues.
A lot of the farms are raising cannabis now instead of flowers because it's more profitable. So that hurts too.
He said production in South America for roses is down 40%. There's a lack of variety of colors, especially white roses, due to funerals.
A lot of funerals, and I'm getting tired of doing it. I'm in here every morning banging out funerals and staying late at night, and I'm just getting tired of it. So I wish you guys would get vaccinated so I can have a break.
At After Hours Flowers, customers aren't picky about what they order, so the shortage hasn't impacted them as much. Co-owner Verna Paget said being the only Las Vegas flower shop open 24 hours, her clientele is different.
Guys going on dates, guys in trouble, you want to send your wife flowers and she works till 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm the only one that'll go take her flowers.
Paget said their specialty is mainly red roses. She did say she is concerned how dependent the U.S. is on flowers from other countries.
Flowers come from all over the world, and they either go to L.A. or they go to Miami, and then they get distributed in the United States. And yeah, I think about how that's going to change the industry. You know, we just have to get creative with the flowers that we do have.
Interesting. All right, going to learn about a study about the germiest place in your bathroom. And the result may be surprising. So we were talking during the break, Nikili and I, on what we thought was the dirtiest place in the bathroom. You ready, Nikili? Grab your disinfectant because the dirtiest part of your bathroom is likely a spot you haven't cleaned in a while. A new study conducted by electric heating specialist Roente says the dirtiest spot in your bathroom is one you'd least expect and probably haven't cleaned in a while. Your towel rack. Researchers found this germy and often missed spot by swabbing 5 bathrooms top to bottom. The swabs were then tested to determine its cleanliness level. 60% of the towel racks were found to be extremely dirty, with shower heads and sink taps being the cleanest. Roente recommends scrubbing down your towel racks about 3 times a month. We were talking, Nikili thought toilet, and I thought toothbrush. Honestly,
I said toilet was not number one, but I didn't expect towel rack to be number one.
Isn't that surprising?
I never would have figured that.
All right. 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming away. You're going to hear about a big job fair going on over at Pitt State. Many companies from across the nation visiting.
With billions of dollars worth of U.S. military equipment left behind in Afghanistan, the Taliban is now working to reopen the international airport in the country's capital. I'm Trey Yingst in Kabul. I've got the details coming up.
More than 170 companies from across the nation are visiting Pitt State, hoping to recruit students for internships and jobs. The event is called Company Days. Today, 107 companies focused their recruitment efforts on construction engineering, electrical technology, and safety management, among others. Tomorrow, 70 companies will visit the campus, and their focus is going to be on automotive technology, manufacturing, and mechanical engineering, among others.
We used to say they're hungry, now they're starving to death because there's so much work out there they can't find people at all levels. The crafts level, all the way up to the management level. That's our niche, is the management level, and everybody's looking. There's not a company out here today that isn't looking to hire many people.
Faculty in Pitt State's School of Construction in particular say they can't turn out graduates quickly enough to meet demand. Patients recovering from surgery prefer virtual post-op appointments. This is according to a recently published study. Researchers studied 289 patients recovering from either appendix or gallbladder removal surgeries. The group was split into two. One visited the doctor in person for a post-op appointment, while the other had a virtual appointment. Each group was surveyed on their experience, and the group given a telemedicine appointment reported a more positive experience, with 79% of them saying they would opt for a virtual visit in the future. In-person patients had complaints including the commute, finding parking, and the wait. New reaction from Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas about the ongoing challenges at the border. Republicans are demanding the administration do more to get the situation under control. Meanwhile, Democrats are outraged about the images they're seeing of Border Patrol agents confronting some of the migrants showing up at the border. Fox's Madeline Rivera is in D.C. now with more.
Images at the Texas-Mexico border appear to show Border Patrol agents on horseback charging at migrants as they cross the Rio Grande. The Department of Homeland Security says an investigation is now underway.
Do you honestly believe that our borders are closed? Senator, I do.
But Border Patrol agents say they're overwhelmed as thousands of migrants, mainly from Haiti, wait in makeshift camps under a bridge in Del Rio, hoping to be processed by Customs and Border Protection.
Texas has been stressed. The Border Patrol has been stressed. ICE has been stressed.
Deportation flights are underway. Hundreds of migrants have been returned to Haiti, a country some say they haven't lived in for years. Several of them criticizing the Biden administration for its tactics.
This is discrimination. That is how I call it.
Domestic outrage and frustration are also growing. Many Republicans are blaming the White House for the influx in migrants.
They're not all being returned. The reality is this administration is putting America last.
Even as the president tries to reaffirm that the situation at the border will improve.
We will get it under control.
Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas says they're aiming to clear the makeshift camps in Del Rio by the end of the month, adding they expect to see dramatic results within the next several days. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
As the Taliban consolidates its control over Afghanistan, Fox News got a first-hand look at the cache of American military equipment seized in the takeover. Fox News correspondent Trey Yingst has more now from Afghanistan.
In Afghanistan, you see American military equipment everywhere, from guns to Humvees to aircraft, billions of dollars left behind. Some of it was destroyed, some of it wasn't. Most of the American and Afghan military equipment at Kabul's airport was destroyed by U.S. forces before they left Kabul. That's not the case for the rest of Afghanistan. There are thousands of Humvees, aircraft, and other critical pieces of military equipment left behind, now in the hands of the Taliban. Taliban intelligence officer Nazir Ahmed escorts us into Kabul's international airport. Afghan pilots ran away with helicopters, he tells us. When we got control, thanks to God, they brought them back. The Taliban now controls thousands of American-made Humvees, weapons, and aircraft. Although in the Afghan capital, U.S. troops did destroy an estimated 170 pieces of equipment before leaving.
Right now, the Taliban is explaining that American forces destroyed all of the displays and internal mechanisms inside these Black Hawks before they left Kabul's international airport.
On the civilian side of the airport, domestic flights are already starting to land. The Taliban tells Fox News that operations are running around 90%, and that international commercial flights could start next week as repairs are finished.
In the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, thanks to God, all international airports are operating now, including Khust, Kandahar, Herat and Mazar-e Sharif. The most destroyed airport by the Americans was Kabul's international airport.
Security remains the primary concern for Kabul's airport. Over the past several days, there have been a number of ISIS attacks against Taliban targets in Afghanistan. In Kabul, Trey Yingst, Fox News.
A bit later, fiery destruction.
A massive volcanic eruption continues rocking a Spanish island. I'm Jackie Ibanez with a look at the destruction and why it could last for months. That's straight ahead.
It was certainly nice to get the cold front out of here. Not only did it take the last of the rain chances out of here this morning, which you can see to start on our time lapse outside of Seneca, Missouri, overlooking Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. We enjoyed brighter skies today and quite a drop in temperatures. Let's just break down what happened as the front rolled on through yesterday. You can see how we spent much of the day on the quiet side, but late yesterday evening into last night, early this morning, that was our big weather headline. All the rain and thunderstorm chances, some of which were severe, but for those of you that really got hit with these storms, you got picked up on quite a bit of rainfall. On the average, 7/10 of an inch of rain. You can see how along and east of the 69 corridor, though, that was where the bulk of the heaviest rainfall has been, anywhere from half an inch to almost 3 inches, and certainly in some of the heavier spots. All we had to keep an eye on today was mainly this evening. A couple weak showers came out of Emporia, tried to work around Yates Center, but you can see how they pretty much fell apart underneath our drier air mass. So most of us kept quiet this evening, and everyone's looking quiet now for 7th and Rangeline especially. 58 in Joplin, a calm breeze out there, and I expect that dew point to drop off a little more. That should allow us to drop back into the upper 40s to start your morning out. So yeah, a cool start for our Wednesday for sure, but for now, everyone's looking okay. Mid-50s to some lower 60s, that's the range of temperatures, but no matter what your thermometer says, we're all running 15 to 25 degrees cooler than the warm temperatures that we saw at this point last night, and we're definitely seeing the numbers drop off quite a bit, not just because we got past sunset, but that breeze out of the north has really lightened up. It was at 10 to 20 during the day. We got a pretty light breeze out there now at 5 to 10 miles per hour. So we have nothing going on here. We have our front that cleared the rest of the rain and storms off to the east, high pressure in control at the surface, and upstairs, a nice upper level trough, keeping us on the cool side of the jet. So that will definitely lead to a fall-like day, appropriately so for tomorrow as we kick off the fall season. As far as temperatures go, again, I think we're due to drop back into the upper 40s across much of the region overnight. So I think a safe bet would be 49 degrees to start your Wednesday morning out. Clear skies to start the day, and we'll hold on to blue skies for the rest of the day. 67 by noon and a high of 71 with that north breeze picking up a little bit during the afternoon at 5 to 15 miles per hour. But you can see how everyone's mainly in the lower 70s. Maybe a few mid-70s west of 69, but everyone's looking good to start fall out tomorrow. Fast forward to Thursday, though, we're still on the cooler side of the jet, so we'll say mid-70s with quiet skies for Thursday. Maybe some cloud cover Friday and Saturday, but with the jet on top of us, this will push us back into the 80s for highs. But once the jet really kicks in before we see this wave try to bring in the shower or storm on Tuesday, that is another resurgence of late summer-like heat, even though we don't want any more of it. But we'll deal with it when it comes. 71 tomorrow, looking good to start off fall, Jordan, with sunny skies. 76 Thursday. At least we'll keep the weekend warm to start off with highs in the mid-80s.
Pretty soon, more leaves will be turning colors and falling. Just another sign of fall.
Absolutely. I always look forward to that.
I do too. Nick Kelly, thank you. Coming up in sports, St. Louis Cards trying to push their winning streak to 10 games against the first-place Brewers. Plus, Webb City hitting the field for a rivalry matchup against Carl Junction. Jacob Leonard has that and more next.
Today is rivalry day for Webb City and Carl Junction softball. The two teams meet today in Webb City in a COC matchup. Now the Cards, 2-2 in the league, while the Bulldogs try to pick up their first conference win. Top of the first, Peyton Hawkins with a runner on, hammers it out to left. 2-run jack for the senior. Webb City gets 3 in the top of the first. CJ gets runners on first and third in the bottom half, but freshman Laney Taylor gets the strikeout to get out of it. Then in the second, Taylor again, another strikeout. It's 3-0 going to the third. Now in the third, senior Kaylin Gilbert adds to the Webb City lead. Puts this one over the fence in center, makes it 4-0. Hannah Cole limits the damage, finishes the inning with a strikeout, but Webb City gets 16 hits, 15 runs, going on to beat CJ 15-3. The Joplin Eagles face Ozark this afternoon. The Eagles trying to pick up their 3rd straight win. This one was a really good one, but Joplin falls 4-3. The Eagles back in action Thursday at Republic. And one more out of the COC, Neosho on the road against Carthage today, aiming for their 5th win in 6 games. Carthage, though, 6 runs in the 6th, pulling away from Neosho 7-2. Well, the St. Louis Cardinals are one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. The Cards have won 9 straight games and have a 3-game lead for the 2nd wild card spot in the National League. Now, tonight, St. Louis hits the field for Game 2 of their series against the 1st place Brewers. That one a low-scoring game with the Cards leading 2-1 right now in the top of the 9th. Tommy Edman is 2 for 3 with an RBI. In the American League, Game 3 of a 4-game series between the Royals and Indians tonight. In the first, ball gets away from Andrew Benintendi. 3 runs are going to score on that. Cleveland up 3-0 early. Second inning, more from the Indians. Ernie Clement takes this one out for the solo shot. Royals now in a 4-run hole. The good news is they didn't get shut out in the 7th. Hunter Dozier over the wall for the solo homer, his 15th. That's all they got. Royals fall in this one 4-1. Well, the Riverton Rams have been one of the most dominant volleyball teams in the area this fall. The Rams are 18-1 coming into the night, including winning 11 straight. Riverton is playing in a triangular tonight with Girard and Columbus. Now, the Rams got by Girard first, aiming to push their winning streak to 13 here against the Titans. J.C. Thomason gets this one down here. Riverton up in the first. The other side, Columbus sticks around. Lexi Stone finds the empty spot. Then Faith Henry flies in for the kill for the Titans, but Riverton would finish it off. Olivia Parker cross court to the other corner. Riverton tops Columbus in 2 sets. The Rams now 20-1 overall, winning 13 in a row.
We were highly motivated. We haven't won the league in Riverton since 1991. That's 30 years. So it's a big thing for us this year, one of our goals. And this was a big step for us to knock off Girard because we know they're a quality team. They've got some strong players.
That's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
Rock, lava, and ash continue descending onto a lush Spanish island. Fox News correspondent Jackie Bondes has more on the volcanic eruption, uprooting thousands and causing immense destruction.
Massive amounts of molten lava continue spewing from a volcano on the island of La Palma, part of Spain's Canary Islands located off the northwest coast of Africa. But the volcanic eruption, now entering its 3rd day, is throwing this island paradise into turmoil, forcing more than 5,000 people to evacuate their homes.
It is like a science fiction film.
The rivers of lava, measuring in at more than 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit, are proving unpredictable, with scientists saying they could continue flowing for a matter of weeks or even months, as the volcanic eruption shows no signs of slowing down, lighting up the night sky with an eerie glow.
I was outside in the garden and then I heard a noise like a bang. And then I saw something.
Smoke billowing up.
Smoke
going up.
Yeah. Yes, and stones.
Experts say the lava is moving relatively slow, covering about 2,300 feet per hour as it engulfs anything standing in its path. As of Monday, more than 100 homes have been destroyed, and residents say they won't be able to return home to the areas already consumed by the lava for at least another decade.
It would not be possible to build a house there in the next 10 years, I think. There's nothing, there's no water, there's no electric, and the magma needs years to cool down.
It's been 50 years since the last time a volcano erupted on the island. Officials say it lasted for roughly 3 weeks. Jackie Ibanez, Fox News.
Next, going to hear about an upcoming special season for The Simpsons, 33 years young. as a family. Fox's The Simpsons marks its season 33 return with its first musical episode. We spoke with writers behind this musical number for a preview of what's coming up in Springfield, Oregon. We did a little bit of research. Apparently it's Springfield, Oregon. Here's Fox's Ashley DeVorkin.
Your partner's in a tizzy. Flossing till she's dizzy.
Fox's The Simpsons returns with a Broadway musical-inspired season 33 premiere, with Marge staging a revival of her Y2K-themed high school musical.
I definitely just wanted to do something silly. Just thinking back to the drama of being in high school with 1999 happening in that New Year's. And then, of course, Rent was a huge musical when I was in junior high and high school, and we were obsessed with it, my theater friends and I. So I wanted to do that kind of rock opera thing.
It's Simpsons humor told through music with a big storyline for Marge.
Normally, I think they go even harder with some of the jokes, but they really allowed us to shape this more like a musical.
It's an emotional journey for Marge, which is just such a unique, incredible thing.
Characters do break out into song and dance throughout the episode.
The old adage is like when, the emotion is too strong to speak, you sing, and when it's too strong to sing, you dance. So you have like musical theater choreography from the Simpsons cast, which is just incredible to see as a fan.
And a special guest voice star helps make it all happen.
When Marge just decides to break out into song, she sounds like Kristen Bell. That's amazing.
It was always the voice I dreamed of going off to write the writer's draft, because in your imagination, why wouldn't you want to sound like Kristen Bell? And I just love that it's the farthest thing from Marge's voice, and then so that's what she envisions.
Places everybody. The Simpsons premiere airs September 26th on Fox. In Hollywood, Ashley DeVorkin, Fox News.
And that's our time for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. Going to leave you with video of an Asian elephant in Australia enjoying a mud bath, what some people would call spa day. Be safe. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.